So I'm sitting here with none other than the greatest athlete of, certainly when he retired, Outside Magazine called him the fittest man in the world and the greatest endurance athlete ever, Mark Allen. Good to see you, Mark.
Hey, great to be here.
So, unbeknownst to a lot of you, Mark loves South Africa. He surfed J-Bay when he was at the World Champs a few years ago, had the wave of his life. And I'm a huge fan, as you can tell. I was with Mark on the finish line when Dave Scott came back at 40. He looks incredible today. Look at this guy. He's 65 years old. Got all his hair. He's still ripped. And Mark and I have just been chatting. And what I'd love to hear from Mark, who's now a professional coach and spends a lot of time at the sport. He was on the water's edge this morning. He sees everybody. This guy's seen it all. And what I'd like to ask you, Mark, is what out there can the industry learn, particularly coaches and athletes themselves, about being consistent and staying in the sport for a long time rather than just getting the Instagram shot, the Facebook shot and moving on, because that's not healthy for the sport.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, one of the big things that I always tried to have in my coaching, that I try to do in my coaching and as an athlete when I was racing, is to have consistency in training. So of course you want to sort of stretch yourself a little bit, because when you go just that little bit past where your fitness is, that's how you get more fit. But it has to be done not every workout and not all the time and not all year round and not year after year after year. Yeah, there has to be recovery built in, so that whatever you do today, maybe it tests you a little bit, but then that tomorrow after you've recovered you can get up and do something again. Or if it's a longer workout, maybe you take a few days easy. So I think recovery has been sort of underestimated over the years.
Neglected.
Yeah. People don't take into account the importance of recovery. Anybody can train hard. Any coach can give an athlete a workout that's challenging, but it's not every coach that will give their athletes workouts that enable them to be consistent over a long period of time. And the same with even choosing races. Somebody says, oh, I want to do an Ironman, and they do it all in 1 year. Well, they didn't take time to build up, so it's a big demand on their body, and they finish it, and then they're complete toast. Or somebody takes time to build up so that they're actually fit enough to have a great experience, but then they do a bunch of them, and again, they don't recover from them. Like when I competed, as a professional, I would race maybe 7 or 8 times a year, and I would do one Ironman a year.
And the rest was standard Olympic distance, etc.
A couple half distance, and then some Olympic distance. And
Kona was your one typically.
Oh yeah, Kona was the big one.
Yeah.
And nowadays I see a lot of athletes focusing purely on just doing Ironman races or purely doing half and full distance, and so they're always in this over distance mode. And the distance of an Ironman has sort of been normalized now over the last few decades,
which is insane. 42 Ks of
everybody can do an Ironman. How fast can you do it, right? And when I was racing, we had a very healthy respect for the distance, and so with that we also spent a lot of time recovering afterwards. And it wasn't like, oh, let me just take 2 weeks easy and then get back at it. It was more like when Kona was done in October, I didn't do any serious training until January. How many people take 2 or 2.5 months really easy, nothing structured, to really let their body regenerate, let that internal adrenal system charge back up? Because it's a big demand, and like I said, it's become normalized a little bit. Like, oh yeah, you did an Ironman, cool. Back when I did it, it was like, wow. And even me as a professional, every time I crossed that finish line, I was like, healthy respect for that distance.
Which is why you retired in a moment when, even though you were still winning, you just thought, this is going to be too much on my body.
Yeah. And you would think nowadays with all the devices to measure everything that recovery would be super easy to understand and measure and not burn people out. But just look at some of the top pros, they're all getting injured now. And I think there's just this expectation of doing race after race after race, middle distance, half Ironman, long distance, and again, there isn't a respect for the recovery that our bodies need, so that you have longevity. And I look at stuff like what I do, I'm always looking 10 or 20 or 30 years down the road. Like, I want to be able to do whatever. I have a vision of what I would like to be able to do if I make it to 70, 80, 90.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose to retire when I did it. I was 38 years old, because I thought, I'm not injured, I'm not burned out, I'm healthy. Now's a good time, because I had seen too many people really push their body to that absolute limit too often for too many years, and they broke down, and then they couldn't do anything. And it's like, I want to be able to exercise my whole life. I want to be able to surf my whole life. I want to be able to, just go out and enjoy moving my whole life, and not use it all up today or tomorrow.
And still look chiseled at 65.
Yeah, a funny thing is that I don't ever really think about exercising for a look. I exercise for a feel. Just that feeling of, and it's interesting because this past winter in Santa Cruz, we had horrendous storms, and so there was, my go-to exercise now is surfing. If the surf is happening, that's what gets done first, right? This winter, it was so stormy so often that I had literally weeks at a time where there was no surf, and so I kept going to plan B, a stationary bike, or go for a walk, or do my strength training, whatever it is. Finally, I even got kind of tired of doing that, and so I was letting my exercise consistency drop. And then I had some trips and I wasn't exercising, and I got just out of shape enough that when I finally started to have a block where I could actually get back in the water and train and do everything again, it was uncomfortable. Like,
a healthy reminder. Yeah.
And I'm like, where's that feel good feeling? It was like, I don't want to, it hurts to get my heart rate up. And I realized, this is when people say, I don't like exercise, it's uncomfortable.
It's too easy to get out of it and fall off the wagon.
So, it didn't take long, just
Sure.
3 or 4 days of actually just going out every day and exercising, really getting my heart rate going, before it's like, there's that sort of sense of freedom that you get, when you're in that motion and flow, and, it shifts from pain to a feeling of like vibrancy.
Do you think we've potentially, I often wonder if we've lost feeling? This modern generation, they're feeling everybody else's feelings. They're following everybody on social media, and if Christian Blumenthal can race every weekend and 48 hours apart and win, what's this resting and recovery got it is? Crap, it's old school.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, if you're doing stuff for your social media, it's like doing it for the wrong reason. You can't measure a good feeling, right? And those good feelings you have, those are moments that nobody will ever see, because you're out there by yourself or with your friends, and it's just something that happens maybe for part of a workout, let's say, but it's precious, and that's what I love about exercise. And so, like, now, like I said, I surf, and like we were speaking earlier, at 65, my good days are still good, but I just have more lousy days, but on those lousy days, it's like, all right, so this isn't the way you maybe surfed last week or 10 years ago or whatever, but make the most of it today. And
sweet moments are still sweet.
So I just say, okay, however this surf session started out, let me end it a little better than it started.
That's cool.
And if you do that, then it's like, man, this is gold, right? I'm out in the ocean, I am moving. I could have just sat at home and done nothing, but I got a great excuse to take a shower now. I got salt all over my body, like, life is good.
Well, amen to that. You heard it from the guru. And I call you the guru because, we all remember you went through your very deep thinking days. If you've read your story about making friends with the island and connecting with the shaman. And, do you worry that kind of sense of deep, introspective self-focus rather than external focus is missing these days?
I think so. And I think if athletes incorporated that into their training and their sport experience, that it's not just this physical thing, but it's a way that you can actually learn about yourself and learn about life and learn about how to quiet your mind and how to connect with sort of that flow of the universe. It would completely transform the experience that people have in sport. It wouldn't be so much about, am I faster? Am I stronger? Am I placing higher? It would be like I said, it would be like, what was my experience that I had
Yeah.
today? And that's
and
the
also
cool
obsession with being lean. I mean, everyone wants to be ripped. And as you said earlier, you can't be ripped all year round. You need a hibernation, don't you? A recovery time.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
a lot of coaches, I guess, if they're on a 12-month plan, they give you training for 12 months.
Yeah.
And that's another interesting one of these. So many athletes are, I mean, amateurs putting in over 20 hours a week. Does that sound healthy to you?
Not if you have a job and a
Yeah.
family and a relationship and things that take a lot of your energy. Also, that's the other side. Is you can look at your stress score from your workout, but that doesn't give you a stress score for your life. And
Now you've got to combine them.
and people you have to consider that. Like, when people are having lousy weeks in training, I go, what's going on? Are you stressed? Well, yeah, I got this deadline at work and I'm not getting sleep and I had to travel, it's like, well,
There you
there's
go.
your answer right there. You don't need to do more. We need to have you do less.
Psychologist and coach wrapped into one.
Right.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Well, great to see you, Mark. Well done. And thank you for everything you brought to the sport. It's
All right.
lovely seeing you here still involved. And if people want to follow you coaching-wise, markallen.com. Is that right?
Go to, I'm on TriDot, which is
Okay.
a great coaching platform, training platform. I moved over a year ago.
Okay.
And a lot of my athletes who came over, at first they're kind of like, I don't know if I like this. It's different than what you had before. And I go, I know it's different. It's a good difference. Just stick with it.
Called progression.
And literally every single one of them has been doing faster times than they've ever gone before.
Great.
So-
And often I'm sure less is more. I just have a feeling it's probably...
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So go to TriDot.
Good
Check
man.
it out.
Thank you, Mark. Good to see you.